Well, thanks for that amazing session. We're joined now by moderator Deborah Weinswig, founder and CEO of Coresight Research in New York. And we invite Joe Hickson from the group innovation at Tesco Labs to discuss how they work with Israeli companies.
For those of you who don't know us, Coresight Research is a boutique research and advisory firm that sits at the intersection of innovation and technology. I'm so honored to be here today with Joe Hickson, head of labs at Tesco Technology Group Innovation. Joe, as I have seen, has a true passion for product and service development and innovation, which has allowed her to progress her career in industries as diverse as retail, travel, hospitality, gaming, and telecommunications. She heads the lab team for Tesco in the UK with a global remit and is also part of Tesco's more recently established group innovation team. Tesco Labs is the R&D team within Tesco Technology. The team was conceived to shine light on future opportunities and challenges for Tesco businesses globally, and is focused on prototyping and testing new ideas in technology areas that could significantly impact both the customers and the business. To date, they are responsible for exciting innovation in areas such as IoT, voice, and APIs, to name just a few. The lab team collaborates with a range of partners, startups, and universities to help solve real-world problems. More information about the team can be found at tescolabs.com. With that, let's get started. So Joe, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much. What a wonderful introduction.
Absolutely. So first, can you tell me a little bit about your business?
Sure. So for the last 18 months, I've been working for Tesco, which is predominantly a grocery retailer in the UK and elsewhere. So we are an international business. It's also a wholesale business under the brand name Booker, also a mobile business. So we have a mobile MVNO, Tesco Mobile, and a bank. So yeah, large business, but predominantly about grocery.
And then how do you approach innovation at Tesco?
So it's really interesting in that that has relatively recently changed and changed for the good, I have to say. So when I joined Tesco, I joined to head the innovation lab, which sits within Tesco Technology, as you just said, right? So the job there was to really explore innovation through the lens of emerging technologies. And the lab has been established for many years and has been doing that really successfully for the business. And now with group innovation, I think the remit is broader and perhaps more strategic in the sense that we are tasked with looking around the globe for opportunities to innovate with partners. So developing relationships around the globe, finding the entrepreneurs, the startups, and those communities that want to work with Tesco to create mutual value together and look for those disruptive innovation opportunities for any or all of our businesses.
And when you think about disruption, what does disruption mean to you?
Well, I'm not sure who to attribute it to, but I really like that phrase, disrupt or be disrupted. And I think, we're using disruption in a positive sense, that businesses should be really looking out for those big new opportunities, the ones that really move the dial for the business in so many different areas. We have some clear focus areas, but the opportunities when you're a grocery retailer or a bank or a mobile operator are really broad. But what you need is a team who has a very clear remit and is dedicated to doing exactly that. And that's why it's fantastic that the group innovation team have been formed, and I get to be part of both teams. So I stay in technology because I'm a real geek, and also get to be part of that strategic thinking.
Well, I think what's really interesting over the past few years, though, from a global perspective, we really have seen the grocery industry as a whole increasingly focused on innovation. What advice do you have for startups working with large corporates, but more specifically working with large grocers?
Sure, it's a really interesting question, actually, because what we find is it's kind of double-sided, really, in that the large corporate, the grocery retailer, has to understand and be empathetic towards the startup. And I would say that we're very much a team that is dedicated to doing exactly that, and being very partnering in how we approach it. I used that phrase earlier on about creating mutual value together, and we truly do mean that. So as an example of that, one of the kind of mantras we have is no slow no's. So if we meet a startup and we're interested in them, we want to be really clear and quick about coming back with a good answer for, you know, our evaluation of that opportunity. And I think that's really important. But then also on the startup side, what we have is a situation sometimes where I feel that the founders have real domain expertise in, say, for example, AI. And that's wonderful. And I'll never hope to understand as much as they do about computer vision and AI or whatever it might be, but perhaps might not necessarily understand retail as well, and make some suppositions about the retail business that aren't true. And that can really hamper their progress. And so I think my primary advice is around really understanding not just your domain expertise and what it is that you're trying to create, but also the context, and the context in this case being grocery retail. Our business is, I think it's something like approaching 400,000 colleagues, maybe a bit less now, but certainly hundreds of thousands of colleagues across multiple countries. We're a really, really large business. And in joining Tesco, I found that it took months to really understand the Tesco business, and I'd worked in retail before. So don't underestimate the challenge of getting to know the business that you want to see your success growing.
And then when I think about kind of, you know, the vast array of opportunities for innovation in Tesco, right? I mean, it can become overwhelming. How do you narrow that? And especially in 2020, which has certainly been an amazing year in terms of the abundance of opportunity for, you know, kind of innovation in grocery. How do you think about, you know, kind of, if you will, narrowing that, or do you just kind of let it all kind of, you know, be and, you know, reach out to all of these startups and allow them to kind of, you know, if you will, present their opportunities to work with the organization? How do you kind of, you know, if you will, rein that in, or do you kind of let it all bubble up?
No, we have reined it in, and I think we've reined it in for a couple of reasons. One, it means that we can focus as a team, and that's really important. It's not a very large team of directors, and I think that the focus means that that we're able to be really honed in where we spend our time. And also we know as a business what matters to the business and what's going to really make the difference. And so to really focus on the big opportunities means being really clear about where they lie. So as an example, we have a very significant sustainability agenda as a business. And so packaging has become an area of focus for us, because we are really interested in ways in which we can introduce more sustainable packaging, reusing packaging, and all of those good things. So that's just one example of a focus area that we have as a business. But we are also interested in, you know, the wild cards, if I can call them that, because sometimes businesses, they don't know what they don't know, and so building the network and, you know, trusted partners like Oren means that we can kind of get under the skin of what's happening and be introduced to the things that we might not even think to ask about. And I kind of love those ones as well. I love the wildcard opportunities.
No, I mean, sometimes it is really interesting to, you know, if you will, spend a day and, you know, you just don't know what you don't know sometimes, right? And it's oftentimes the, you know, those undiscovered, or, you know, the questions that you haven't asked, right? Where those startups, and sometimes it's even, right, maybe that it isn't necessarily a fit for your organization, but it might, right, stem you to think differently about how you approach the business, or even just the questions you're asking internally. And, you know, it might, you know, kind of propel you on to greatness in another way. How do you think about, right, those opportunities and what that does in terms of your own, kind of, if you will, as you look to 21.
Yeah, it is interesting. And actually, I think what 2020 has done is it's sort of stifled that opportunity a little bit, because we are all so separate, and all of the events that I would have gone to stimulate that thinking, have those kind of serendipitous conversations. Before we started recording, we were talking about some of your network that you're going to introduce to me. I think that's so perfect. And I think the disappointing thing about 2020 is that so many of the events we're at one now that was, in person before. These are all things that we're going to love 21 to get back to, I think. And I make a real effort to try and maintain and grow a network. And my focus actually is on Israel. In fact, we're working with a number of startups that are Israeli, and it's just fantastic to work with such smart people, such driven, there's a real driven culture, I think, within the Israeli community. I just love the inspiration that you get from working with a variety of different kind of creators that have got real vision, and can see what could be in a very sort of blank sheet of paper kind of way. So yeah. I'm very lucky to have been given Israel as a destination to focus on.
Yeah, and Joe, what we didn't have the chance to talk about is that I actually worked for an Israeli tech startup in between my Citigroup days and my Li & Fung days. And what was amazing is having the opportunity to work at Profitect, which was ultimately acquired by Zebra, is, and I was their chief customer officer, which when they asked me to be their CCO, I was like, sure, that sounds great, whatever that is, and it was, and that's what was also, it was just, they, and it was an amazing opportunity. And they, when they reached out to me, my mom was sick. They were just trying to, kind of help me out. And that was also what was so amazing. And I learned so much, and I learned so much about the ecosystem, and traveled to Israel many times. And even, kind of having the opportunity to, meet so many, and what was interesting to me versus anywhere else in the world was the serial entrepreneurs, right? People were on their 9th, their 10th, right? Kind of startup. And it wasn't that, it wasn't that they had sold kind of their, startup for X, kind of millions or billions of dollars. It was that they had, they were on their 9th or their 10th. And so I think that's what was so unbelievable. So, we'll kind of finish it out with, kind of what are you kind of most excited about as you look to 2021?
I think I'm certainly excited about the applications of AI in our business. I mentioned computer vision as just one example of that. It's public knowledge that we're working with Trigo on proof of concept in one of our stores in the UK. And the idea behind that is using computer vision as a technology allows you to walk around the store, pick up goods, and then walk out. You don't have to negotiate a till, you don't have to line up. And that sounds like alchemy, right? Sounds like magic. I've got such great faith in the Trigo team to make that magic real. And we just love working with them as well. A really bunch of very committed guys, and a few of them have come to live in the UK in order to be able to further the project. So more power to them. Throughout 2020, they've spent an awful lot of time in a store making that work for us.
Well, I think that's the whole opportunity, right? Is to make the magic happen in the store, because what we're continuing to see is that, and I think once again before we started, is we are seeing that the consumer really wants to continue to have that kind of in-store experience. They really want to connect. And that, I think, right now is really more important than anything. And also not only having the opportunity to connect, but for stores to be in stock, and whatever technology can deliver that. And then even the post-purchase connect, all of that is so incredibly important. And the technologies that deliver that. So, Joe, what are your, we've got 1 minute left. What are your kind of departing words of wisdom?
Oh wow, that's it's nearly 8 o'clock at night and you're looking for words of wisdom. I would just really reiterate what I've been saying earlier, that we are a team that is looking to work with the entrepreneurs of this world. And so if anybody that's watching this has something that they want to share with us, then please do get in contact with me. You can find me on LinkedIn. My email is joe.hickson@tesco.com. I'd really love to hear from you.
Joe, thank you so much. We really appreciate hearing from you and the Tesco team.
Thank you. Thank you.